Hey everybody, today we've got our dehydrator out again, and we are going to be working on dehydrating some things that are going to allow me to extend the shelf life of things that typically go bad in my house. If this is your first video here, my name is Ashley and welcome to my kitchen. I really don't like wasting food. And there's so many reasons. Some of them are very obvious, like the time and the money waste for not only myself, but every step along the way, from being planted in the fields to being, shipped to the grocery stores and all of that. It feels like it's a moral issue too sometimes. So I am trying to address the foods that typically go bad in our house. So right now I have a couple different things. Not only am I trying to address food that spoils, but I'm also trying to think about food that I only use a little bit of. I like using fresh lemons and limes, and I think that ultimately nothing can beat fresh. However, I can't tell you how many times I've bought a lemon or a lime or multiple, and then they've started to go bad because I use them for something and maybe I bought too much, or I ended up not using it, or whatever the reason might be, and it sits in my fridge and it gets green and fuzzy. So because I am that kind of person with lemons and limes, I'm going to try to preserve some by dehydrating and creating a powder that I can then use as a concentrate in, I think, most of the applications that I would use it in. Even if I just need to mix it with some water to reconstitute it or something like that, I'm gonna try. I was able to find a sale on organic limes, so I went ahead and I got a few, and then I grabbed a couple lemons as well, so I can do both of those citruses and experiment with using them in my kitchen in that way. Another thing that I'm going to work on is in many videos ago, I used chili and adobo sauce to make some black bean burgers. They are incredibly spicy, even though the jar is probably 4 ounces or so. It's not very big. I only used one, and it was enough spice for me. We don't tolerate a ton of heat in our house. And so what I did was I froze the chilies flat, and then just kind of wrapped them up in some parchment paper, and I've been using them out of the freezer. However, my freezers are full. They are messy, and I'm trying to reduce the number of things that I need to keep in there, if at all possible. And so what I'm going to try to do is dehydrate those and powder them, because they will still maintain their heat and that good smoky flavor that I'm looking for when I use those in recipes. Which brings me to the third thing that we're going to dehydrate, which is some garden peppers, some spicy peppers from our garden. These I am so excited about because they did not get the baby treatment when they were little, and I just kind of threw them out there and was gonna just see how they did. Well, it turns out they did great, and there's actually a handful of them on there. They're not maybe what they would be if we were in a warmer climate. We didn't have that hot of a summer, but I'm going to dehydrate them so that I can use them in a dried, crushed form throughout the year. Because I have a citrusy sort of theme and then also a spicy theme, I'm gonna split those into 2 different rounds in the dehydrator. So I think first we'll do the citrus and then we'll go after the peppers. So I just went in my fridge and I got the citrus out so I could get it washed up. And I found the 2 lemons that I purchased specifically for this project. But then I also found a 3rd loose lemon and a lemon in a bag that I literally didn't even know that I had. So how perfect is that I can deal with these before they just get older. So I'm going to go ahead and give these a good scrub, and we'll get them sliced up. A lot of times people, when they dehydrate citrus like this, they just do the rind. The pith is where a lot of bitterness comes from, but I'm not too concerned. I think that the applications that I use this in, I'm just going to use them whole and everything ground up together in one cohesive thing. So I'm just going to do these super thin. From what I understand, these little pockets of juice that contain, the juice from citrus, can take a while to dehydrate, and so I want to try to do them as thin as possible so that that is not a huge time consumer. So I'm just going to go ahead and do all of this citrus the same thickness, and I'm actually using a bread knife because I want it to be a really nice, good serrated cut. Took almost 5 of the 6 trays here to get all of those lemons and limes on, and so I just went ahead and grabbed the 6th tray and tried to sort of redistribute just a little bit. So anyway, there we have it. We will see how long these take. Probably going to do this at around maybe 145, 150 degrees and see how long that takes. So let's get started. Okay, the dehydrating here is completed. These ones that were left whole are really fun, but I wasn't concerned about that, and I cracked a bunch just to kind of make sure they were dry. Now I understand why people wouldn't want to have the juice part in here and just do the rind, because there is a lot of moisture in there and a lot of sweetness, so they're very sticky. They do need to go a lot longer to kind of reduce that stickiness. As you can see, these are all very crisp now, and so I didn't want to take them out until that stickiness was gone. I actually I turned this off last night and I started it again this morning. I would have left it going, but I didn't want them to get like too dry at night, so I just kind of stopped it and restarted it the next day. So we're gonna go ahead and get these ground up separately. Four large lemons made about a cup. 4 limes made a little bit more than a half a cup. They both are pretty well free-flowing. The lemon, I think, has a little bit of a higher sugar content, and so it's a little bit stickier in there, but I feel pretty good about where this is at. They smell amazing. This smells like a combination between like lemon bars and key lime pie and all kinds of crazy delicious stuff. They just smell absolutely amazing, and they taste great too. So here we go. Those are done. Let's move on to the peppers. Okay, so for the hot peppers that I've got, I'm just gonna chop off the top and then put them in whole. Now my pepper plant is still producing, but I wanted to make sure that I at least pick off the decent sized ones before it gets too cold. We are having some hot weather right now, but we are in for some cooler weather, especially in the evenings. You never know if it's going to get down pretty quick here, so I wanted to take care of these before there's any chance of freezing or frost. Now for this chili and adobo sauce, I'm just going to lay it on this, it's like a fruit leather tray for the dehydrator. And maybe it would be just fine because this is already frozen. I'm just starting this from a frozen state. But I just don't want any of the liquids to kind of drop down. So I thought I would do it on this tray. All right, this is all we have right now. It's not a super full dehydrator, but I want to keep spicy things separate and anything with like super strong flavor or anything like that. So we've got the hot peppers up here. the chunks of chili and adobo, I guess gobs, down here. And we'll just get these going. Okay, I went ahead and finished up the peppers in the dehydrator, and I decided to leave them in two different forms. I left my garden peppers in kind of a whole form, and then as I use them, I can just kind of crush them up like that. And I thought that that would probably be just like a nicer way instead of like a powder. And then for the chipotle peppers in adobo sauce, I actually did grind it up, and it's a nice consistency here now, and it smells amazing. I think I'm more excited to use it in this powdered form than I was when it was in its jarred wet form. Okay. So as far as the drying goes, the peppers, it was an interesting experiment. So the fresh garden peppers finished quicker. And if I had split them open lengthwise and not left them whole like this, I think they would have dehydrated a lot quicker. So next time, and I'm hoping that I'll be able to do some more from the rest in our garden, I'm going to cut them open so they dehydrate quicker. As for these chipotles in adobo, they took a very, very long time. Even though this is maybe 2 tablespoons worth of powdered delicious seasoning, I think next time that I do this, I'm going to maximize the dehydrator. It was a really good idea that I put it on this fruit leather tray first, because it did allow a little bit of that moisture to draw out, and then I transferred it over after an hour or two only to the regular trays, and it worked fantastic like that. So I would definitely maximize the entire dehydrator with these to do these again, just because they take so long. So this is now all of these 4 dehydrated things that we worked on. This is such a fantastic way to be able to reduce food waste, which ultimately reduces the amount of money that we're spending on food. Because, I mean, as I mentioned at the very beginning, I did buy these limes, and only half of these lemons actually, to be able to experiment in this way. However, going forward, when I need limes, I'm going to grab this lemon. I'm going to grab this for the most part. I'm not the kind of person that uses a ton of fresh, but I like it sometimes, and I like that flavor in a big way. And we have all been super excited about these and tasting these just plain. They are not bitter. I was thinking this would be bitter. Not at all. It is so, so delicious. Even just, okay, like on some yogurt, how delicious and yummy would that be? But for me, these are just things I don't use as frequently, and so having them in this different form is going to give me options on how I can use them in a better way for our family. I'm really excited to use the same sort of lens as I look at my food over the next, weeks, months, and try to make sure that I'm doing this with more things, because I think that it's going to be a great way to continue to save money, and by reducing the amount of food that gets wasted in our house. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we will see you soon.